I would like to say what I think on this video regarding the story I'm about to tell you. But I think in this particular instance, it's better to let you guys read between the lines as to what you think may have happened and why. So when you get done this video, I want you to comment below what you think happened. And here's a picture from the LA Times article. Tom Girardi, then LAPD Chief Charlie Beck, and Secret Service agent Lorenzo Robert Savage III, head of the Secret Service, at a Super Bowl party hosted by Girardi in 2015. Wow. He certainly had friends in high places, Tom Girardi, didn't he? Could probably get lots of stuff done. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. You're some of the smartest people I know on my channel, so let's get into it. Well, first, I just want to show you this, just to get you in the mood. This is Erika Jane Girardi's butt. She loves to post this particular picture. She's posted it a few times. Anyway, this was her Valentine's Day post yesterday. Amidst all the scandal, she felt like, let me just throw this one in there too. Yeah. Right. Because this is really appropriate when you're being sued by hundreds of people and your husband's just been indicted and I don't know. You're like, everybody already thinks you're kind of a scumbag anyway. Like, let's just keep putting petrol on that fire, shall we? Let's not try to reverse it. Let's keep it going. So both the LA Times and the Los Angeles Magazine covered the story I'm going to share with you. I did use the title from Los Angeles Magazine, Michelle McPhee's story, for the thumbnail because I wanted to make sure that I didn't step out of line since we're talking about the Secret Service, right? So I decided to use the LA Times title of the story so that I wouldn't go into muddy waters with anybody, right? Okay. And a special thanks to Matt Hamilton and Harriet Ryan from the LA Times for doing this dive. This picture was used in the LA Times article. This is actually the designer that we're going to talk about. I just wanted you to have a visual of him before we begin. Christopher Pasela from Marco Designs, and he is one of the two people that was really negatively impacted by the story I'm about to tell you. I wanted you to see his face. Now, here's the other gentleman who was impacted by this situation. This is Marco Morante. He's Christopher's partner at the time of all this stuff that Erika Jane Girardi starts. And he's done, he's famous for his costumes. He's done the circus, San Francisco Ballet. And here's some stuff that he did with RuPaul Drag Race back in 2014. All was good until Christopher and Marco run into Erika Jane Girardi, because at this point she says, oh my goodness, you make all these costumes for these famous singers. Very theatrical. I would love it if you would make costumes for me. So Erika Jane Girardi gives these designers carte blanche to design her costumes, but there's a problem. She seemingly doesn't get money from Tom Girardi and Girardi Keys in any other way than through an American Express card. So she probably asked Tom for some funds, and he said, no, just use your Amex, and that's the way we ride in this household. Now, either do it or don't use those designers. And she desperately wanted to use these designers, so she gave over the American Express card and said, I know this is probably not normal, but go ahead and charge whatever you need to make the clothing for me, including your design fees and, putting it together, the seamstresses, etc., and we'll take care and cover it. And I'm sure, being that she was arrogant as she is now, probably more so because none of this had happened yet, I would imagine that she was touting how rich she was, that they would do it and have no problem with it. And maybe they didn't even check with her on that she was okay with the money, because let's face it, how many jets do you have, Erika? How many things are you throwing around that you're so rich? You got your Pasadena White House and all this, or Versailles or whatever. Anyway, so they do. They charge up $700,000 plus of expenses on materials, costume stuff, whatever. It is a lot of money given. But they went through, they said, every single fee, and they all were legitimate to the costumes, even in a situation of an audit, they felt. Anywho, Tom Girardi asked a friend of his, who's the head of the Secret Service, if he might help him. What? I'm sorry, excuse me? And the head of the Secret Service starts an investigation on them for fraud. Guess who the front man on the fraud is? Erika Jane Girardi. So she says, oh, let me meet with the head of the Secret Service men and tell them about how I didn't authorize that these payments be made on the American Express card and how I had no idea it was going to be this kind of money and whatever else she said to them. And they went ahead and opened a criminal investigation on these designers for fraud on the American Express card for over $787,000. Now here's where it gets fishy. Lorenzo Robert Savage III is the head of the Secret Service. This is the guy I'm talking about, Rob Savage. See? He was the special agent in charge of the Secret Service LA field office. He had hired Tom Girardi from Girardi Keys to represent him and his family in a lawsuit against Volkswagen regarding a failed brake system that he believed caused his family damages, and he was being shortchanged by Volkswagen on their restitution to him. And so he pulled in Tom Girardi to help him. Tom Girardi had a reputation that he could get companies to give a lot more in a settlement than they normally would. So this secret agent guy thought that if he hired Tom Girardi, he would get more than the $7,500 settlement that they had already agreed to give to the secret agent guy. Okay? Well, what ends up happening is Tom Girardi starts using this man's job position as well as some of his accolades and predominant roles he's played in our society to try to bully Volkswagen to settle. And it comes out in some of the court discussions, and the judge is appalled by this because feels that there's something maybe incorrect happening. Tom is so embarrassed by the fact that he's now compromised the secret agent guy, including himself. He basically makes a big to-do and says to the judge, I will not have my reputation called into question. Of course I have clothes on. No, that's not what he said. Moral of the story reference. He said, I'll pay $100,000 out of my pocket to this man right now, and we won't even move forward, and we'll just forget the case. This is so outrageous, the injustice, and I'm so rich, I'll just pull that $100K out and hand it over to the secret agent. I mean, and then the judge tried to say, well, you better put that into some formal thing because I'm going to hold you to it. And Tom did, and of course, never paid the $100K, but he did pay the agent the $7,500 settlement money he would have had anyway if he hadn't hired Tom Girardi. Okay, so let's move on to a piece of the LA Times article that I really like. Girardi agreed to represent Savage and his wife for free in a bid to extract a larger cash settlement in the minivan case. That's the faulty brake case that Savage was experiencing with his Volkswagen. When his efforts failed, Girardi dug into his own pocket to pay the family at least $7,500. Funny enough, the same month, Savage arranged for Secret Service agents from a financial crime squad to meet with Erika Girardi about what she said were excessive charges to her credit card by a Hollywood costume firm. One of the wonderful perks of having an American Express Platinum or Black card is that if you put an item in dispute, even if it's $780,000 plus, and especially if you have the Secret Service looking into fraud surrounding it, and you're Tom Girardi, one of the top lawyers in town or in the nation, American Express is going to put that charge into dispute, which means you will not have to pay the charge until the matter is resolved. Here's a picture from the LA Times article. Tom Girardi, then LAPD Chief Charlie Beck, and Secret Service agent Lorenzo Robert Savage III, head of the Secret Service, at a Super Bowl party hosted by Girardi in 2015. Wow. He certainly had friends in high places, Tom Girardi, didn't he? Could probably get lots of stuff done. So let's continue with some receipts just because It's a very legal conversation, and, well, I don't want to get in trouble. So that's really why. This part is from the LA Times, and these are the highlights. The article's quite long, so know that I am giving you the cliff notes, but this is the important part, and unfortunately, I don't want to have any issues, so I'm going to just read some receipts. The reason they went for Pasela is, I would imagine, he was the one controlling the books, and also his partner believes he was more of a vulnerable candidate to pursue. So here's what was said by Pasela, the designer. I lost complete trust in the justice system. He pointed to the sway that Tom Girardi held in the legal and political worlds and the important people he counted as friends. That was what I was up against, and that was terrifying. Now, you guys know that on the show I've spoken to other victims of Tom Girardi on the podcast, and they have talked about, you know, really sinister actions being taken against them to try to manipulate them into doing things. So this gentleman's obviously feeling a little of that. Now, to be fair, this is Erika Girardi's position. Erika Jayne said in an interview that she remained certain that Pasela falsely billed her for hundreds of thousands of dollars and cited a conversation surreptitiously recorded by the Secret Service in which he acknowledged some overbilling. In no way did I pull a scam to get $760,000 to help anybody get this money, she said. She said she feared that the public would believe any bad things said about her. Yeah, she's really shaking in her booty, if you will. Get it? Shaking in her booty? They do. They get it. They think I'm funny. So the Secret Service head guy, Savage, who retired in 2018, denied any exchange of favors, saying the credit card complaint in his minivan case were completely unrelated. The Secret Service and the U.S. Attorney's Office declined to answer detailed questions about the case. So $780,000 plus sounds like a lot of money in this costume world. So let me tell you a little more detail surrounding the invoices and the money being spent by the designers on behalf of Erika Jayne that she said was inflated or fraudulent. Ready? So although Erika claims that when she bugged him, Pasela admitted that he had done something wrong or that someone maybe overcharged $100,000, but it wasn't him, he backtracked on that later and said that he was just panicked. He really didn't know what he was saying. And so this is what Pasela said. Pasela, who handled the business side, said he was so confident that the claim was false that he helped agents log into the company's accounting software, reasoning, let's solve this here and now. So in other words, let's not let this go any further down the criminal path. I'm innocent. So the cops come in with the usual, 9, 10 FBI agents, police officers, big guns, dawn raid, scare the shit out of everybody, make everybody think they're going to die to find the stuff that they need to get. And they do that raid. It's not a pleasant experience from what I've heard. So what I was going to tell you guys is that he has this happen to him, and it's devastating, and he's shook. Anyway, by the time of the 2017 raid, Erika Jayne had been a client for about 3 years. She had been introduced to them by their mutual publicist, who said she was in her early 40s trying to become a pop star and had a rich husband to foot the bill. Working with Marco, Pasela said, was part of a plan to go the gay route in her pursuit of fame. Gee, that seems like a kind of an agenda, a little manipulative in my opinion, but that's just me. At her first fitting, Pasela tried to present her with an invoice, but she waved him off, saying the paperwork wasn't necessary and to keep her credit card on file, he and Morante said. That's the other designer who wasn't charged. It never happens that someone would just dismiss the invoice and not look at it at all. This was bizarre, Pasela said. It would be years before the absence of invoices came up again, and by then the Secret Service was getting involved. The relationship between the business and the performer blossomed between 2014 and 2016. Marco designed outfits for Girardi and her backup dancers to wear in the nightclub shows in Denver and Miami, circuit parties in Palm Springs, performances on Real Housewives, and music videos for songs such as How Many FUCKs and expensive, according to the company owners. Anyway, apparently other celebrities reached out seeing Erika Jayne rock into the gay world and become such a huge success in these skin-tight cat suits with Swarovski crystals. And so other celebs were like, I want to tap that audience, so give me some of that. And these guys made those too for those musicians. And they were, of course, making them before Erika Jane already came around too, because they were already doing costumes and stuff too when she hired them. I guess we're talking about this energy, the cat suit, except Swarovski crystals. So allegedly, this is how Erika Jane Girardi suddenly found out that she was being defrauded by these designers on her American Express card. She said she called American Express for help installing an app on her phone that allowed her to see every new charge in Texas for a performance. She saw a $5,000 charge from Marco that she said she had not approved. She called and said Pasela agreed to reverse the charge, but it later happened again, leading her and 2 employees to begin reviewing years of account statements. She said they found hundreds of thousands of dollars in charges that seemed to far outpace the number of costumes in her closet and decided to go to law enforcement. Right about now, you should be sort of sensing that maybe the fraud here isn't so much this man. It might be Erika Jane Girardi. For example, did she ever care about the LGBTQ community in the way that she says she has? Because she certainly doesn't seem like from this story. In addition to that, she never logged into her American Express online account to see what the hell was going on in there with all the money she was spending. I mean, she sold us that she was a businesswoman, I thought. Guess not. Anyway, this is how her audit went down, in case you were wondering. Rich people problems, let's say, times 10. Meanwhile, Girardi and her employees were sorting through her costumes with the Secret Service, matching the invoices she had with the outfits in her closet and the charges on her card. The criminal charges came 4 months after the raid, a 9-count indictment on aggravated identity theft, wire fraud, and use of an unauthorized access device against Sela alone. He had never before been arrested or charged with a crime and said he cried as an agency supervisor and 2 agents handcuffed him. The 2 agents handcuffed him. The trio seemed unfamiliar with how to book a suspect in the federal detention center in downtown LA, calling colleagues from the car and then getting lost in the wrong parking structure, he said. The case decimated their business. The owner said investors pulled out, longtime customers distanced themselves, and employees quit en masse. Morandi, whose designs continued to be a celebrity demand, said he never thought about abandoning Pasela, whom he considered instrumental in his success. Christopher, the designer I'm talking about, wanted to adopt a child, and he was denied the ability to adopt a child over this whole situation. Very unfair. So I'm not going to get into why it really pisses me off when people utilize the LGBTQ community to leverage, their fame or sell stuff. I think it's so shit. And I won't tell you why I get so angry about it, but let's just say I have a personal reason that get so angry about it. And it's not what you think. So finally, thank goodness, Christopher gets the support of a formal federal prosecutor, Stanley Greenberg. Yay, Stanley Greenberg, because he's actually going to fight for justice. Yay! Stanley Greenberg, a former federal prosecutor who has practiced in LA since the 1970s, said he found it odd that the Secret Service, which frequently partners with other law enforcement agencies on sprawling financial investigations with many victims and millions of dollars in losses, had taken on a garden variety fraud case. A task force supervisor and another agent claimed to have extracted a partial confession from Pasela, Christopher, after the raid, but they hadn't recorded the conversation or taken notes, and he denied making the statements. The Secret Service just seemed to have a very intimate role in the whole thing, and it included getting money for Tom Girardi and not bothering to question one of the main witnesses, Greenberg said, referring to Morante, everything just reeks of the fact that they were doing some kind of favor. Pasela had assembled evidence for prosecutors that he said corroborated more than 100 disputed charges, including text messages with Erika Girardi's employees, social media posts of her outfits, television clips, and invoices. I realized that there wasn't a discrepancy. Everything I came across was documented. Christopher said, I had reached the point where I said I'm not going to let him plead guilty, Greenberg said. He said he informed the prosecutor in late September 2021 that he planned to call both Girardis as witnesses in the trial. By then, the Girardi Keys firm had collapsed and Girardi had been exposed for stealing client funds. It was unclear whether the lawyer would or could testify given the conservatorship. Greenberg moved ahead anyway, saying he wanted answers about the Girardis' financial situation and their contact with the Secret Service. Shortly after he started sending subpoena notices, Greenberg said he received a call from the prosecutors informing him they were dismissing the charges. Why, he asked. Yeah, funny that. She said, we just took another look at the case, he said. Erika Girardi learned of the dismissal on Twitter. Savage was no longer at the agency, but she placed an irate call to the main case agent. Here was what the prosecutors said the reason was that they suddenly dropped the case. We ultimately determined that law enforcement evidence preservation issues undermined our ability to prosecute the case, and the interest of justice supported dismissal, the statement said. Greenberg, the defense attorney, scoffed at the explanation. He said that the prosecutor never informed him of any missing evidence. And then he said, it's an absence of evidence because they did a sloppy job in the first place, Greenberg said. And Pasela said, I'm a shell of a human now. For some of you, this will be hard to believe that corruption could go this deep, but I promise you it can and does. Do you know who Anthony Pellicano is? He was an investigator that the biggest people in Hollywood hired to threaten, torture, and spy on even their phone conversations, people in Hollywood and regular people, to intimidate them into doing whatever the person who hired him wanted. He also worked for many attorneys that used him as bully boy tactics and to get dirt on the people that they were going up against to try to win, to cheat, I guess, the justice system, if you will. And he worked for the biggest, and I did a whole deep dive on it. I'll show you in a second. But you guys need to know this is a real thing, and it does happen. Now, whether it happened in this particular case, I can't tell you. But did Tom Girardi hire Anthony Pellicano at one point? Yep. The ultimate intimidator. So when you're ready for the truth, come into the Patreon, July 9th, 2022, and learn for yourself. I'll be waiting. Email me. I'm the librarian. Like, subscribe, and hit that notification button. And let me know below who's lying, who isn't, what was really going on here, or was it exactly as it appeared? What do you think?